Once upon a time, in a peaceful neighborhood in Seattle, an elderly man named Simon lived. For years, he fed a flock of local crows, finding solace in this simple act of kindness. Since his wife's death, Simon had withdrawn from people, and feeding the crows was his way of enjoying nature during his lonely days. He never expected anything in return, and that was perfectly fine with him. But one day, the crows did something remarkable that showed their gratitude. They repaid Simon in a special way that left him completely astonished. It all started on a morning that seemed just like any other for Simon, but today was different. As he stepped outside, he was greeted by a scene of chaos. The crows, which usually brought him comfort, were now creating a loud ruckus. Their incessant cawing shattered the peaceful quiet of his neighborhood, which Simon cherished. Initially, Simon thought the crows might be hungry, so he quickly brought them some food, hoping it would quiet them down. However, their noise only grew louder, and it became unbearable. Frustration boiled over, and Simon stormed out of his house, determined to end the disturbance. As he approached the source of the commotion, he spotted something unexpected. Two young crows were huddled on the ground, their faint chirps nearly drowned out by the louder calls of their parents. Despite his irritation, Simon felt a surge of sympathy for the tiny shivering chicks. They were so small and vulnerable, with wide, scared eyes. His frustration melted away, replaced by a feeling of compassion. "Can't you noisy birds take your racket somewhere else?" he muttered, but deep down, he knew he couldn't just walk away. As he inched closer, the parent crows swooped down, trying to ward him off with sharp beaks and loud cries. Startled, Simon backed away, momentarily forgetting his annoyance. He suddenly realized the crows weren't just making noise, they were in distress. These birds needed help, and Simon understood that he was the only one who could provide it. With some hesitation, Simon crouched down beside the frightened chicks. His hands shook a little as he reached out to pick them up. For years, he had kept to himself, avoiding connections with others after his beloved wife passed away. But seeing these tiny, helpless creatures stirred something deep within him, a sense of compassion he hadn't felt in a long time. Taking a deep breath, Simon gently lifted the shivering chicks, feeling their soft, downy feathers warm against his hands. "All right, let's see how we can help you," he said softly, trying to calm the birds. Standing up with the chicks close to his chest, Simon faced the parent crows, who swooped down, their frantic caws filling the air. Though startled, Simon held his ground and carefully moved toward the tree where the nest was hidden among the branches. The adult crow's anxiety was clear, and Simon's hands trembled, not from fear, but from the responsibility he felt. He knew he had to return these baby crows to their home, no matter what. With great care, Simon managed to place the stronger chick back into the nest. Its chirping subsided as it nestled into the twigs, seeking comfort in the familiar warmth of its home. But as Simon turned his attention to the second chick, he noticed it was much weaker. Its eyes were half closed, and its breathing was shallow. Simon hesitated, unsure if he had the skills to save this fragile creature. His wife had always been the one to care for injured animals, and he wondered if he was up to the task. For a moment, Simon considered leaving the chick in the nest, thinking it might not survive the night. But as he held the tiny bird in his hands, he felt a pang of guilt. He could almost hear his wife's voice, gently reminding him of the compassionate man he used to be. With a determined sigh, Simon decided he couldn't abandon the chick. He would do everything in his power to save it. Ignoring the upset squawks of the adult crows, Simon scooped up the frail chick and quickly brought it inside his house. He set up a cozy temporary nest using a soft towel and placed the tiny bird in a small box, setting a heat lamp nearby to keep it warm. With careful hands, Simon used an eyedropper to feed the chick tiny drops of water. He watched anxiously as its breathing slowly steadied and its eyes started to open. Throughout the night, Simon woke several times to check on the chick, making sure it stayed hydrated and warm. By morning, the little bird seemed to be gaining strength, its chirping becoming more regular, a hopeful sign for Simon. It was time to return the now stronger chick to its family. With renewed determination, Simon gently carried the revived bird outside. As he neared the tree, the parent crows observed him closely, their cries turning into curious chirps. Climbing a small ladder, Simon carefully placed the chick back in the nest beside its sibling. The baby crows cuddled up together, and a wave of relief washed over Simon. He left a dish of water and birdseed at the base of the tree, just in case the family needed more help. The day before, the crows had been defensive and anxious, but now, as they saw their chicks safe in the nest, their behavior changed. Simon realized that crows were not only intelligent, but also incredibly social and capable of recognizing human faces. They had seen Simon as a threat at first, but now, after his act of kindness, they seemed to view him differently. Over the following days, Simon noticed a shift in the crows' behavior. They no longer kept their distance. Instead, they began to interact with him in subtle ways. Whenever Simon was outside, the crows would perch nearby, making soft cooing sounds as if they were communicating with him. It was as if a barrier had been lifted, allowing Simon to glimpse into the crows' closely knit world. This newfound connection brought Simon a sense of comfort he hadn't felt in years. He began talking to the crows, leaving out nuts and dried fruits for them. In return, the crows seemed to welcome him into their flock. Simon found immense pleasure in their company, feeling fortunate to have bonded so closely with these intelligent and sociable birds. They became his companions, and he cherished the time he spent with them. One morning, after feeding the crows as usual, Simon noticed something unusual at the spot where he typically left their snacks. Bending down to investigate, he discovered a tiny handmade ornament, a pull tab from a beverage can, meticulously threaded with a tiny crimson ceramic bead and a sprig of pine. At first, Simon thought it was just a coincidence, but the following day, he found another similar charm. That's when he realized the crows were leaving these trinkets as gifts. Over the next few weeks, Simon continued to find more of these intricate creations. A twist tie fashioned into a necklace, a small ball made of grass and twine, a piece of bark arranged in an appealing pattern. Each time he discovered a new gift, Simon felt a deep sense of wonder and gratitude. The crows weren't just dropping random objects, they were creating artwork as a way to express their appreciation. As the days went by, Simon's relationship with the crows became even stronger. Their thoughtful gifts weren't just tokens, they symbolized a profound bond. In return, Simon felt a renewed sense of purpose and joy. He cherished the unique friendship he had formed with these clever, feathered companions. So, what are your thoughts about this heart-touching story? Share your opinions in the comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe to stay updated on our new animal stories. Your support means the world to us.